What up, B Squad? It is your boy JB, and we are here today, you guys, with another review of Belair Season 3, Episode 5. This episode was titled Getting Personal, you guys. Now, before we do get into it, if you guys are watching this video or any other on the channel and you guys aren't subscribed yet, I need you guys to do me a solid favor and stop taking me out on this date and then having me pay for it at the end of it. You guys know the routine. You can do me that favor by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, turning on your post notifications, and also by sharing the video, you guys. And with that out of the way, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this episode of Bel Air, shall we? So this episode it opens up, you guys. We see Carlton, we see Ashley and Will. So they're in the kitchen and they are cooking breakfast, right? So they went upstairs to give the food to Aunt Viv and Uncle Phil, which today happens to be their anniversary. So they went into the room, and Aunt Viv is the only one that's in the room. But later, Uncle Phil then comes in, and they were like, "Sir, where are you coming from?" And he let them know, like, I was sleeping. I slept in the office last night. Well, actually, it was Ashley. As did you sleep in your office last night? And he was like, "Yeah, I slept in there because I worked late, and I didn't want to come up here and disturb your mother." So they left the food with them, and then they walked out. And when they walked out, Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv got into a little argument with each other, right? So then the next thing we see is Aunt Viv's phone went off, and it was Sharif texting her. And Sharif DM'd her, was like, "All the lights. Are you trying to tell me something?" "Absolutely not, sir. She is not. She's a happily married woman." So Uncle Phil, he apologizes to Aunt Viv for snapping at her earlier, right? So they were able to move forward. Now downstairs we see Will and Carlton. Now you guys remember Will and Carlton got those those hoodies last week, right? And it's 1,000 of them, so they got to figure out how to get rid of 1,000 hoodies. So Uncle Phil came down. He was like, "You boys still trying to figure out how to get rid of those hoodies?" They said yes. He said, "Well, can you guys at least move them to the garage so that way it doesn't stress out your mom?" And so they were like, "Cool." So Will left out, and so Carlton went up to Uncle Phil and he was asking him like, "Hey, you know, if you and mom need, some space, Will and I can take Ashley and we can go somewhere." And Uncle Phil told him like, "No need to do that. It's not necessary." But Uncle Phil did do a check-in with Carlton to make sure that Carlton was okay. And he said, "Yeah, he isn't putting any stress on himself." And we'll come back to that later because when it comes to Carlton, ugh, I just really think that the problem for Carlton is going to be in the form of Amira. But you guys can tell me what you think and what you feel, and we'll talk about it in the comment section. Now we see Ashley. So Ashley is in her room making some music very loudly. And Viv came in and was like, "Girl, what is going on in here?" She was like you couldn't do this at Olivia's place. And Ashley was like, "Well, it was my idea." And Viv is just basically talking to Ashley and saying that she knew that Ashley was going to be the one of her children that would be the artistic one. Now we move back over to Uncle Phil. So he and Jeffrey, they're talking, right? And Jeffrey was distracted because on Jeffrey's phone, Jeffrey is looking at Frederick's location. And so Jeffrey told Uncle Phil about the burner phone and all the phone calls that it makes. The only number is for somebody in London. And so Uncle Phil says to Jeffrey, like, "Why don't you have a conversation with him as his father and not like Jeffrey?" Because Jeffrey told Uncle Phil that he's just playing his hands when it comes to Frederick. So we move on to Carlton. So we see Carlton. So Carlton is in his head, right? About all the things that he's heard Aunt Viv and Uncle Phil say. So Will come up to him and had a conversation, trying to talk to him, but Carlton was in a different world. But Will showed him this flyer for this pickleball tournament that they're having, and it's a celebrity event. And so they feel like, okay, if we can get into that, because there's a guy named Pony Rich who has about, I believe, 6 million followers. So they feel like if they can get him to basically endorse them, that'll help them sell the hoodies, right? So I don't remember the young boy's name who is the little manager, but he helped them to get into the pickleball event. he hooked them up with Miss Tina, who can get them, who would be the one that would hook them up with getting inside of the pickleball event. Miss Tina, I kept looking at her. I'm like, this woman looks so familiar. Like, I know she's played on something. And I finally figured it out by the end of the episode. She played on Being Mary Jane. She was the producer that she was Mary Jane's producer on her television show. I was like, this woman looks so damn familiar. I'm like, she looks familiar, but that's who that was. So Will and Miss Tina, they ended up playing a pickleball game with each other, and Will won. So Will and Carlton are able to go into the pickleball tournament. Right now, we move back over to Aunt Viv, who is at her office. She's meeting with Destiny, and she and Destiny are talking, and Destiny is letting Aunt Viv know, like, hey, my grandmother took me to a free museum when I was a kid, and that was where I first saw your painting of the child getting their hair done, right? And she told her from there, she is her inspiration. She's the reason that she paints black women. And so she did apologize to Aunt Viv. She's like, I do apologize for all the DMs, and I do apologize for painting on your building. Hopefully, it didn't look too stalkerish, right? Then she said, can I get an autograph? And can I get a selfie? So we moved back over to the tournament, and the boys are trying to find Pony Rich, right? So I was looking at this tournament. I was like, "Oh, Carlton is getting," because there was one tray in front of him that had shots of tequila, I believe, right? Then there was this girl who asked him to help her with this, champagne. I was like, "Oh, Carlton is finna." I was like, "I don't know if this is a good look for Carlton, but we'll get to that as we get to it." Um, but so yeah, and then we move back over to Jeffrey. So Jeffrey is talking to Frederick, right? And so Jeffrey suggested to Frederick that they go out and grab a bite to eat. But Frederick was like, I was actually going to go down to the pub and watch something. I don't know what he said he was going to watch, but he was going to go watch something. And Jeffrey was like, well, how about I go with you? First round is on me. And Frederick was like, well, this is pretty much a younger crowd. And Jeffrey was like, okay, you know what? Go out, go on and have fun, right? So then after that, we moved back over to the country club. So Carlton, like I said a few minutes ago, with the shots, right, and the young lady who asked him to help her. Well, this is the scene where the young lady asked Carlton to help her, and Carlton had those champagne flutes, and he was just having flashbacks, and he almost dropped it, but Will came to his defense and helped him. And Carlton was like, "I need to take a moment." It's like Will was like, "Okay, let's go." He's like, "No, just me." He's like, "You find Pony Rich," and so that's that. After that, we move back over to Aunt Viv's office, and Sharif shows up. And Sharif, let's just be real, Sharif is flirting with the married woman. It's shameless at that. But he was, talking to her about liking the pictures, and she was like, "Yeah, that really wasn't me. It was one of my girlfriends. I went out for the night with my girls." And he was like, "Oh, and you showed them my pictures." I was like, "Skedaddle, Sharif, go away." But Sharif came and brought her lunch. I was like, "Excuse you, sir, go away. Bye, Sharif." So then we move back over to the country club, and we see Will and Jackie. So Will was trying to talk to Jackie, but Jackie wasn't necessarily trying to hear it from Will. And I didn't blame Jackie, because Jackie was like, when it came to the black set stuff at the race, I was more so just trying to help you, and I was being a good friend. But you didn't defend me in that moment. And I was like, he absolutely did not. Because Lisa was wrong. Lisa was 100% wrong. Because, like Will has said in episode 4, I believe it was. No, not this is it. Whatever episode it was. Will has said that him and Jackie, not Jackie, but him and Lisa had no labels. So I just didn't understand how she was so upset. It's like, girl, you're upset, but y'all are not in a relationship. You have not said what you wanted from her. And that's exactly what Jackie said to him. You don't know what you want. And I still don't think Will knows what he wants. So we move back over to Aunt Viv and Sharif, who are having lunch together. and she's getting to know him. She asked him like, "How did you get into into culinary?" He told her that he got into it when he was in the military, and Uncle Phil came. So Uncle Phil came to take her to lunch, and she was like, well, we can go." He was like, "No, I see that you already had lunch, so it's fine." And Sharif was like, "There's more than enough, more than enough food here if you want to join us." He was like, "Nope, it's okay. Y'all enjoy. I'll see you back at the house." So then we move over to Ashley and Olivia, who are getting ready for people to come try out for the band. But unfortunately, nobody showed up, right? And Olivia's like, "Well, I mean, look at the wording on this flyer. It's not really warm and inviting." So Olivia is trying to cheer Ashley up, and Ashley like, you've been trying to do that." And so Olivia mentioned that her parents divorced, and Ashley like, "My parents are not divorcing," and she said, "That's not what I'm saying." So Ashley and Olivia got into a little tiff with each other, and Olivia ended up leaving. So then after that, we moved back over to Jeffrey. So remember, Frederick said he was going to the pub, right? Well, Jeffrey found him on the beach. And so Jeffrey clocked everything. The fact that you go into the bathroom like clockwork at midnight, turn on the water, make a phone call. He brought up the burner phone. He brought up the fact that whenever Jeffrey is around, he doesn't take any personal phone calls from him. So he's asking him, like, "Who are you talking to?" And Frederick is like, "I promised that I wouldn't say." So Jeffrey's like, "Okay, you ain't gotta say. So lead the way. Wherever you going, lead the way, and I will follow." So after that, we see Carlton. So Carlton called. I need to get that young man's name, but the young man over the NA meeting, Carlton called him, and I see a budding romance. I see something budding between Carlton and that young man. So young man was talking, saying that he hadn't saw Carlton in a mirror at any of the meetings, and Carlton says that they're fine, right? And so he did tell him how, being around all the alcohol at the event made Carlton feel, and an old boy asked him, "So what's going on?" And Carlton told him, like, "When it comes to my parents, I've heard them arguing and I've heard them talking about me." And the young guy that was with him, he told him, like, "You can't take on anyone else's problems. And also, when it comes down to it, you want to be there for everybody else, but you need to put yourself first. You need to look out for you." And I agree with that, right? So Jeffrey and Frederick, they went to this hotel, and the person who opened the door was Frederick's mom. Her name is Penelope. And so Jeffrey went inside with Penelope alone and told Frederick, "You're good to go." So we move back over to the country club. So Pony Rich has finally showed up. Everybody is swarming him, trying to take pictures with him. Meanwhile, there is this a guy who is accosting Jackie, and he's visibly drunk, right? And he Jackie went to pick something up, and he made a lewd comment towards Jackie. So Will went over to try to break it up, and a dude still being drunk, trying to tell Will to get the hell away, basically, right? So Miss Tina came over and she told Will, like, "Will, go take a breather and go away. Like, you should have called me to come and help the situation out, right?" And she did check on Jackie to make sure that Jackie was good, right? So after that, we see Aunt Viv. She got home, and Uncle Phil had a dress laid out for her, and she wanted to talk about earlier. She told him it was nothing. He said, I'm not gonna get mad about something that was very harmless, right? And so he said he trusted her. Now we move back over to Jeffrey. So Jeffrey asked Penelope, like, "Girl, what the fuck you doing here?" And she says, "Well, my son told me that you told him he was in danger, so I'm here to protect my child." And so Jeffrey asked her, "Well, how long have you guys been in contact?" She said they've been in contact for a few years. It was rocky at first. And, Jeffrey questioned her about giving Frederick up because I guess he had somebody that was supposed to take care of Frederick and his mom while he was away. But she ended up telling him that the person that you actually asked to help me, soon as after you left, he got arrested, right? So Jeffrey told her basically – Frederick is safe with him and for her to take her ass back home. So we move over to Aunt Viv and Uncle Phil. So Uncle Phil set up a private dinner for he and Aunt Viv. Now at this dinner, it seemed very uncomfortable. So Viv was feeling away about the conversation that they had with each other earlier, where he was talking about that he wasn't gonna get mad over something so harmless. And she's like, "So are you saying that I got upset over a harmless kiss with you and Erica?" And so she went on here to tell him that she enjoys the attention she gets from Sharif, the fact that he is undressing her with his eyes and all this stuff. I was like, Aunt Viv, please don't do what I think you're gonna do. And she told him like she finds him super so sexy. I was like, oh my God, Aunt Viv. No girl, no girl, no girl, no. So we moved back over to the house and Ashley and Carlton are talking. So Ashley is talking to Carlton like she said she always wanted for them to stop pretending like everything was so perfect, but now you have this situation, and Carlton just let her know that mom and dad are going to be fine. They're going to do what's best for you, for me, for Hillary, and for Will. So they will prioritize. They'll be fine. Now we move back over to the dinner with Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv. So she wants them to be honest with each other, and he told her that he liked the attention from Erica. I was like, oh my God, what are we doing here? Why are we doing this? No, no, no. But I like the fact that they cleaned it up, that they said that they wanted to prioritize each other. I was like, okay, I can handle that. I can handle that because I was like, y'all gonna give me heart palpitations. Like, because girl, what is going on here? This is not what I wanted to hear or see from you two. Absolutely not. So we see Will. So Will is beating himself up over Pony Rich, but the little manager again. I need to know. I need to figure out his name too. But they were talking right, and he was like, I would have done the same thing for Jackie as well. So he and Will are connecting with each other, right? And they have similar stories because we all know Will is close to his mom, and so is this young man. He's close to his mom, but then there's a difference between them because this young man was close to his dad, but his dad is now deceased, so he doesn't have his father anymore. And he told Will, he's like, I don't know your story, but he's like, your pops, if he's around, then it's never too late until it's too late. So Jackie came through for Will and she brought Pony Rich to him. So Will went up to Pony Rich and he plugged, Black Sis to him. So we moved back over to Frederick. So Frederick is leaving. And he told Jeffrey, since my mom is leaving, if you ask me to pick between you and my mom, I'm always gonna pick her. And I was like, oh shit. Okay. So then we see on Viv and Uncle Phil, they got home and Carlton and Ashley, they set up a little presentation for them with pictures of them. Then they played Tony Tone Tone's anniversary and they just had a good time. So the next day we see Ashley. So there was a knock at the door or somebody ring the doorbell, right? And it was this kid named Eli who came to audition for the band. And Ashley was like, yeah, it was yesterday, and she was talking about the flyer and what the verbiage that Olivia used, and this young man likes the verbiage that was used, right? So Ashley invited him in to listen to some music, and then we move back over to Will and Carlton. So Will showed Carlton this Instagram story of Pony Rich and his team wearing black sets, right? And it got 6.1 million views on it. People online, ordering. So they're gonna be up all night shipping out those hoodies, right? I wonder if you can. I wonder if those are real hoodies because I would actually like one. So Aunt Viv and Uncle Phil they came to get Carlton and take him back to his room. And they said, do you notice anything? And they put all the doors back on the hinges. And I was like, oh, that's so sweet. And they were like, because you called your NA spokesperson, your spokesperson, you done all this stuff. They rewarded him with putting the doors back on the hinges, and I was like, that's so sweet. I really do like Carlton this season. Since he, you know, got away from Connor, I've grown to like Carlton, right? But I think that there's going to be a problem when it comes to Carlton, and we're going to talk about it in just a minute. So we move back over to Jeffrey. So Jeffrey has invited Penelope and Frederick to stay with him. For me, I think that this is a bad idea. I don't think that this is a good idea, but we're going to see how this plays out. So we also see that Destiny has been, announced as a new Neiman Fellow. Congratulations to Destiny. We see Uncle Phil. Uncle Phil sent Erica a letter, ceasing their business arrangement. And I was like, about damn time. And then Amira. Amira texts Carlton talking about she's found the next high. And it is cliff diving. I was like, see, this is why you're a repeat offender, because you try to chase the high. Like, I don't like this for Carlton. I really truly don't. I think Carlton is better off with, and it doesn't have to be a relationship. It could be a friendship. Whatever Carlton wants with that young man that he called the guy that was over that meeting, I think he's a better fit for Carlton than Amira. Amira is someone that would enable Carlton using again or finding some kind of vice. Like, I just don't like that. But let me know what you guys think. And then at the end of the episode, we see Will. So Will went into his closet and got the stuff that Lou has sent to him, right? He saw a picture of him, his mom, and Lou. And so he texted his mom and told his mom that he needs her in LA. And that is where episode 5 ended, you guys. So we'll be back later today for episode 6 of Belair. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn your post notifications on, share the video. And until next time, stay safe. Take care of yourselves, you guys. Wash your hands. Be blessed. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.